Imagine being told day after day that you are worthless, uneducated, incapable of achieving anything. Imagine hearing those words from someone you once looked up to, someone whose opinion mattered more than anyone else's. For years, those words haunted me, shaping the way I saw myself, shaking my confidence, and making me doubt my worth. But what if I told you that those same words, the ridicule, the mockery, the doubt, could become the fuel that transforms your life completely? What if the very people who tried to break you became the reason you rise stronger, smarter, and unstoppable? In this story, I'm going to take you through a journey of relentless determination, quiet preparation, and unwavering belief in oneself. You will see how every setback, every insult, and every obstacle can be turned into a stepping stone toward greatness. This is not just a story of revenge, it's a story of transformation, resilience, and proving to the world, and most importantly to yourself, that your value is defined by your actions, not by the judgments of others. Stay with me till the end, because by the time this story concludes, you will not only witness a powerful comeback, but you will also understand the mindset, the strategies, and the courage it takes to turn ridicule into unstoppable success. This is a story that will inspire you, challenge you, and leave you believing that no matter what anyone says, your potential is limitless. From the earliest moments I can remember, I was living under a shadow that felt heavier than the world itself. Every word, every glance seemed calculated to make me feel small, unworthy, uneducated. It wasn't just casual teasing or sibling rivalry. This was constant, intentional, and cutting. He would mock the way I spoke, the mistakes I made in school, the very ideas I dared to express. At first, I tried to ignore it, to tell myself that maybe I was overreacting, that maybe this was just how families were. But the words dug into me, shaping the way I saw myself. I began to internalize them, to believe that perhaps I was not clever enough, not talented enough, not capable of being anyone of consequence. It's a strange and isolating thing to grow up feeling like your potential is irrelevant, like the person who is supposed to guide you is actively telling you that you are worthless. I remember sitting in my room for hours, replaying conversations, analyzing every criticism, trying to understand where I went wrong, what I had done to deserve such disdain. Every failed attempt at explanation or defense only seemed to confirm the narrative he had created, that I was uneducated, that I was incapable, that my ambitions were laughable. School became a battleground of expectations and embarrassment. If I brought home a good grade, it was met with a casual dismissal. That's nothing, anyone could do that. If I struggled with a subject, it became ammunition for scorn. I felt like I was constantly balancing on a knife's edge, never able to measure up, never able to prove that I was more than the sum of the insults hurled at me. This relentless belittling seeped into every aspect of my life, leaving me wary of taking risks or speaking up in public. Friends noticed my hesitancy, my lack of confidence, my quiet withdrawal from opportunities because I feared that any attempt would be met with ridicule. And yet, somewhere inside, beneath the layers of doubt and shame, a tiny spark refused to die. There was a quiet, stubborn voice that whispered that perhaps the labels didn't define me, that maybe there was a part of me waiting to prove that the words meant nothing in the face of what I could accomplish. That spark, fragile and flickering, was the beginning of a journey that would transform the pain of being called uneducated and worthless into the fuel for a quiet, unstoppable resolve. As the years went on, the feeling of worthlessness became both a heavy burden and an unexpected teacher. The constant mockery had planted a seed of doubt, but it also forced me to examine who I truly was beyond the cruel words. I realized that if I let someone else's judgment define me, I would never grow, I would never discover the potential simmering inside. So I started looking for ways to reclaim my identity, to understand myself on my own terms. I spent countless nights alone, thinking deeply about my strengths, my passions, and the things I wanted to achieve. The words that were meant to break me began to serve as a mirror, reflecting not my failings but the areas where I could prove my own worth. I began to notice that every insult, every ridicule, had a pattern. It was rooted in fear and insecurity, not truth. Understanding this gave me a quiet power. Instead of lashing out, I learned to observe, to take the criticism as data rather than judgment. I focused on building skills that I genuinely cared about, not the ones anyone else deemed impressive. I read voraciously, explored new subjects, and experimented with different ways of learning, slowly proving to myself that intelligence was not a fixed label, but something cultivated through effort and curiosity. Every small success became a rebellion against the narrative that had been imposed on me. I started to see education not just as formal schooling but as knowledge, experience, and mastery over the things that mattered to me. Along the way, I discovered communities of like-minded people who encouraged growth rather than belittled failure. Their belief in me, even when I doubted myself, became a lifeline. I realized that self-worth was not given, it was claimed. The more I invested in myself, the clearer it became that the labels others assigned were meaningless. I felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing that my actions, my dedication, and my persistence were slowly constructing a version of me that no mockery could touch. This process of self-discovery and empowerment changed the way I interacted with the world. I stopped seeking validation from the people who had once demeaned me and instead built confidence from my own accomplishments. Each new skill, each challenge overcome, became a stepping stone toward proving not to them but to myself that I was capable, intelligent, and deserving of respect. The ridicule that once seemed like a curse had been transformed into a driving force, pushing me to uncover the person I was truly meant to be. There came a moment when I realized that silent perseverance alone was not enough. I had to act, to take deliberate steps that would turn all the doubt and ridicule into undeniable proof of who I really was. I began by setting clear goals for myself, ones that were measurable, ambitious, and entirely independent of anyone else's expectations. Every decision I made, every hour I invested, was focused on building a life that reflected my true capabilities. I started small, tackling projects and challenges that seemed difficult at first, knowing that each success, no matter how minor, was a brick in the foundation of my self-respect. Along the way, I learned to embrace discomfort and failure as essential parts of growth. What had once been paralyzing, making mistakes, facing criticism, confronting my own insecurities, became the very tools I used to sharpen my skills and build resilience. I also learned the power of strategy, of quietly accumulating knowledge, experience, and accomplishments without broadcasting them to the world. It was a deliberate, almost secret, plan. I would let my results speak louder than any words ever could. Each achievement, whether in academics, work, or personal development, was a quiet declaration of my intelligence and determination. I found ways to challenge the assumptions that had been made about me, to enter spaces where I was told I didn't belong, and prove that I not only belonged but could excel. Networking with mentors and supportive peers became crucial. I discovered that guidance, encouragement, and shared knowledge amplified my growth far beyond what I could accomplish alone. Over time, the accumulation of these victories created a transformation so profound that it could no longer be ignored. I was no longer the person who had been dismissed, laughed at, or labeled uneducated. My confidence grew naturally as I saw the tangible results of my dedication, and this confidence fueled even greater ambition. Finally, the moment came when I could reveal the reality of my success to the person who had mocked me. It wasn't about revenge in the petty sense, it was about truth. About showing that the labels meant nothing against the work, intelligence, and perseverance I had cultivated. The look of shock, disbelief, and unspoken acknowledgement was powerful, a testament to the years of effort and quiet determination. At that moment, I understood that the ultimate triumph was not just in proving them wrong, but in claiming my own life, my own identity, and my own value, built entirely on my terms and forged from the fire of mockery and doubt. The next stage of my journey was learning how to channel the anger and humiliation I had felt for so many years into something productive and powerful. For a long time, the words uneducated and worthless had haunted me, and I carried them like chains, feeling their weight in every decision, every interaction, every moment of self-doubt. But I began to realize that anger, if harnessed correctly, could be transformed into focus and determination. Instead of letting it consume me, I decided to use it as fuel. I started by identifying what I truly wanted from life, not what others expected of me, not what they thought I could or could not do, but what I wanted for myself. Every plan, every step, every late night spent learning something new became a silent rebellion against the narrative imposed on me. I developed a discipline that came from necessity. I had to prove to myself first that I was capable, that I could achieve, that I could rise above ridicule. With every skill I mastered and every milestone I reached, I felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense of empowerment that grew stronger each day. I learned that resilience was not just enduring hardship, but actively transforming it into progress. The more I accomplished, the more I realized that success is not defined by external approval, but by the personal satisfaction of knowing that you have done everything in your power to become your best self. Along the way, I also discovered the importance of patience and strategy. Immediate recognition was not the goal was undeniable, lasting achievement. I carefully chose where to invest my energy, which opportunities to pursue, and which criticisms to ignore. I surrounded myself with people who inspired growth and distanced myself from those who sought to diminish it. Every challenge I faced became a test, a way to strengthen my resolve and sharpen my skills. Slowly, the person I had been, hesitant, insecure, and afraid of ridicule, began to transform into someone unshakable, someone who could face any obstacle with confidence and intelligence. The more I grew, the more I realized that the true revenge was not in confrontation or humiliation, but in living a life of purpose, achievement, and dignity that no one could take away. Every accomplishment, every step forward, was a declaration that the labels I had been given were meaningless, that my value was determined not by mockery but by effort, courage, and self-belief. Through this process, I became the person I had always wanted to be, quietly unstoppable and unbreakable, shaped not by derision but by the fire it ignited within me. As I continued on this journey, I realized that one of the most powerful tools I had at my disposal was knowledge, real, self-earned knowledge that went far beyond what anyone had mocked me for. The word uneducated had stung for years, and it had become a challenge I was determined to meet head-on. I began seeking out every possible opportunity to learn, whether through books, online courses, or conversations with people who had expertise I admired. I discovered that education was not confined to classrooms or formal credentials. It was everywhere, in experiences, in mistakes, in questions asked and answered. Each new concept I grasped, each skill I mastered, became a small victory, proof to myself that intelligence and capability were not fixed traits, but something I could cultivate relentlessly. This pursuit of knowledge also forced me to confront the fear I had internalized from years of ridicule. Every time I tackled something unfamiliar, whether it was a complicated subject, a difficult task, or a new technology, I felt the nervous tension of self-doubt, but I pushed through it. I understood that true growth comes from challenging the boundaries of what you think you can do, and that each struggle was a stepping stone toward mastery and self-confidence. Over time, I began to notice subtle changes in how I carried myself. My speech became more deliberate, my reasoning sharper, my ability to navigate complex problems stronger. I could see the contrast between the person I was told I was and the person I was becoming. I also learned the importance of humility in this process. True knowledge does not come from showing off or seeking approval. It comes from curiosity, persistence, and the willingness to admit what you don't know and then do the work to learn it. This mindset created a foundation of self-respect that no insult could erode. Alongside intellectual growth, I started applying what I learned to tangible outcomes, projects, work, and initiatives that demonstrated my abilities. Each achievement, however small, was a quiet statement of my capability, a living rebuttal to the years of being labeled worthless. By investing in myself consistently, I turned ridicule into motivation, doubt into action, and criticism into a roadmap for growth. The transformation was gradual but undeniable. The more knowledge I gained, the more confident I became in defining my own value, independent of anyone else's opinion. What had once been a source of shame evolved into a source of power, and I began to see the world not through the lens of someone who had been mocked, but as someone fully capable, resourceful, and unstoppable. As I moved further along my journey, I began to understand that resilience was not simply enduring hardship. It was actively shaping myself into someone who could withstand it, who could turn adversity into a ladder instead of a cage. Years of being mocked as uneducated and worthless had left deep scars, but they had also instilled a kind of toughness that few could see from the outside. I learned to embrace discomfort, to sit with failure and disappointment without letting them define me. Every time I faced criticism or doubt, instead of retreating, I reflected on what I could control, on what steps I could take to improve. Resilience became a skill I practiced daily, in how I approached challenges, how I responded to setbacks, and how I refused to let fear dictate my actions. I realized that the real power lay in consistency and persistence. It was not about sudden triumphs or flashy achievements, but about the steady accumulation of effort over time, quietly proving that the narrative imposed on me was false. Each time I pushed past a barrier, whether mastering a difficult skill, completing a demanding project, or simply refusing to accept the limits others had placed on me, I felt my confidence grow. I began to see failure not as a reflection of worthlessness, but as a necessary step toward mastery and self-definition. Alongside this, I developed the ability to separate emotion from action. The sting of mockery, the echoes of harsh words, no longer had the power to derail me. They became signals, reminders of why I was working so hard, why proving my capability mattered most to myself. This mindset allowed me to take risks that I once would have avoided, to step into spaces where I had been told I didn't belong, and to confront challenges that others might have found intimidating. Resilience was also about patience and timing. I learned to wait for the right moment to act, to build strength quietly until my achievement spoke louder than words. It became clear that enduring criticism was not enough. It was about transforming it into fuel, into preparation for the life I wanted to lead. Each challenge, each obstacle, became a teacher, shaping my character, sharpening my focus, and reinforcing my determination. The more resilient I became, the less power the mockery held over me, and the more I realized that my future was defined not by the judgments of others, but by my own courage, persistence, and unwavering commitment to becoming the person I knew I could be. As I continued to grow, I began to understand the importance of strategic planning in my journey to reclaim my self-worth and prove my true potential. It was no longer enough to simply work hard or acquire skills. I had to think carefully about how to apply my efforts in ways that would create tangible results and leave a lasting impact. I started by setting long-term goals that were ambitious yet realistic, goals that reflected not the expectations of others but the vision I had for myself. Each step I took was deliberate, each choice weighed against how it would contribute to my growth and future success. I learned to prioritize opportunities that would provide the greatest return in knowledge, experience, or personal development, while ignoring distractions or criticisms that threatened to derail my focus. This strategic mindset allowed me to act with intention rather than react out of fear or frustration. I also became more aware of the power of observation. By watching the behaviors and patterns of those around me, I could anticipate challenges, identify opportunities, and understand the motivations of others. This awareness helped me navigate complex social and professional environments with greater confidence and effectiveness. Alongside planning, I focused on building a foundation that would withstand scrutiny and doubt. I meticulously honed my skills, cultivated expertise, and documented my achievements, not to boast but to create undeniable proof of my capabilities. Each accomplishment was another piece of evidence that the narrative of being uneducated and worthless was false. At the same time, I learned the importance of adaptability. Plans alone were not enough. Circumstances could shift, obstacles could appear, and the path to success was rarely linear. I trained myself to remain flexible, to reassess, and to pivot when necessary without losing sight of my ultimate goals. Networking and building relationships also became a strategic component. I sought mentors and allies who could provide guidance, feedback, and opportunities I might not have found alone. These connections amplified the impact of my efforts and provided support when challenges felt overwhelming. The combination of planning, observation, adaptability, and collaboration created a powerful framework for success. I realized that achieving my goals was not just about raw talent or hard work. It was about the thoughtful application of effort, the careful orchestration of resources, and the unwavering commitment to seeing my vision realized. By approaching my journey with strategy and intention, I was no longer merely reacting to the labels imposed on me. I was actively shaping my destiny and building a life that would speak louder than any insult ever could. As I progressed, I realized that persistence alone was not enough. I needed to cultivate a mindset of relentless focus and unwavering commitment to my goals. The mockery I had endured for years had left me with a lingering doubt, but it also created a drive that could be harnessed if directed properly. I began to treat every day as an opportunity to move closer to the life I envisioned, understanding that small, consistent actions compound over time into extraordinary results. I disciplined myself to rise early, prioritize my tasks, and invest my energy in activities that directly contributed to growth, skill building, and personal achievement. The distractions of negativity, gossip, and judgment no longer held power over me because I had chosen a higher purpose, proving to myself that my value was not determined by others' opinions. Each day of dedicated effort strengthened not only my skills but also my confidence and resilience. I learned to break down large goals into manageable steps, celebrating incremental progress rather than waiting for dramatic breakthroughs to validate my worth. This approach helped me maintain momentum even when immediate results were not visible, reinforcing the belief that consistent effort eventually produces tangible change. Along the way, I also cultivated the ability to stay calm under pressure, to remain focused even when faced with criticism or skepticism. The words that once wounded me became distant echoes, and I trained myself to respond to challenges with logic, planning, and action rather than emotion. I discovered that true persistence is not about stubbornly repeating the same methods, but about continuously learning, adjusting, and improving while keeping the ultimate objective in sight. I sought out resources, mentors, and experiences that would accelerate my growth, recognizing that persistence is amplified when combined with knowledge and strategy. Over time, my efforts began to yield results that were impossible to ignore. Achievements accumulated, skills sharpened, and opportunities arose that had once seemed unattainable. I realized that the journey itself, the discipline, the learning, the consistent action, had transformed me into someone far stronger and more capable than I had ever imagined. The persistence that had been forged from years of ridicule became a defining feature of my character, shaping not only what I could accomplish but who I had become. Through unwavering focus and steadfast dedication, I learned that the only validation I truly needed came from my own consistent effort, and that by committing fully to my growth, I could turn the pain of being dismissed and belittled into a life of undeniable achievement and self-respect. As I continued to grow and strengthen myself, I realized that one of the most important aspects of proving my worth was taking full ownership of my life and decisions. For years, I had been defined by other people's words, shaped by the harsh judgments and ridicule that told me I was uneducated and worthless. I understood that no one else could rewrite that narrative for me. It had to be done by my own actions and choices. This meant becoming fully accountable for everything I did, from how I spent my time to the goals I pursued and the standards I set for myself. I stopped blaming circumstances, other people, or past failures, recognizing that every step I took or failed to take was a reflection of my own commitment to change. Ownership also meant taking responsibility for my personal development, relentlessly seeking opportunities to learn, grow, and expand my capabilities. I immersed myself in knowledge, practiced skills with diligence, and challenged myself in areas that once intimidated me. Every achievement became a direct result of my intentional effort, reinforcing the understanding that my value was not given, it was earned. Alongside this, I realized that taking ownership required emotional maturity, acknowledging fear, doubt, and insecurity without letting them control my actions. I learned to confront uncomfortable truths about myself, to analyze failures without self-pity, and to adapt strategies to overcome obstacles. This mindset transformed the way I approach challenges, no longer as insurmountable barriers but as opportunities to prove my capability and strengthen my resilience. Taking ownership also meant defining my own standards of success rather than living by the criteria others imposed. I no longer sought validation from those who had mocked me, nor did I measure progress by their expectations. Instead, I focused on achieving personal milestones that reflected my values, ambitions, and vision for my life. Each accomplishment became a testament to my ability to control my destiny, and each setback a lesson in refinement and perseverance. By embracing full responsibility for my actions and their outcomes, I gained a sense of empowerment that was impossible for anyone else to take away. The ridicule that once left me feeling powerless gradually lost its grip as I realized that the most important judgment came from within. I had transformed from someone defined by mockery into someone who actively shaped their own life, someone who proved, through deliberate choices and relentless effort, that the labels of uneducated and worthless were not only false but irrelevant to the person I had become. As my journey progressed, I discovered the transformative power of self-confidence, the kind that is forged in the fire of adversity and nurtured through consistent action. For so many years, I had allowed the words uneducated and worthless to shape my perception of myself, leaving me hesitant, insecure, and fearful of judgment. But gradually, as I accumulated knowledge, honed skills, and overcame challenges, I began to recognize my own capabilities and worth. Confidence, I realized, was not something granted by others, it was something earned through experience, effort, and the refusal to be defined by anyone else's opinion. I started to notice subtle changes in the way I carried myself. I no longer flinched in the face of criticism or allowed ridicule to dictate my choices. Instead, I approached every opportunity with clarity and determination, trusting in my preparation and judgment. This shift in mindset had a compounding effect. Each time I successfully navigated a difficult task, completed a goal, or proved my own competence, my confidence grew stronger, reinforcing my belief that I was capable of far more than I had been told. I also learned that true confidence does not require arrogance or boasting. It is quiet, grounded, and rooted in the understanding that your value is intrinsic and demonstrated through action rather than words. I became less concerned with seeking approval or recognition, knowing that validation from others is fleeting, while self-belief endures. Confidence allowed me to take risks that I once avoided, to step into challenging situations, and to embrace opportunities that required courage and initiative. It gave me the strength to pursue ambitious goals, knowing that setbacks were temporary and solvable rather than reflections of my worth. Moreover, this self-assurance became a shield against negativity. The mockery that had once wounded me no longer had the power to destabilize my sense of self. It became background noise, irrelevant to the trajectory I was creating. I found that confident action often spoke louder than words, commanding respect and opening doors that had previously seemed closed. Ultimately, cultivating self-confidence was not just about proving others wrong. It was about reclaiming my identity, asserting my presence in the world, and demonstrating through consistent effort and resilience that the person I had been told was uneducated and worthless was, in reality, capable, intelligent, and unstoppable. Each success reinforced the understanding that confidence is not a gift, but a skill developed through perseverance, learning, and the unwavering belief that you are more than the labels imposed upon you. As I continued to build my life, I realized that every failure, every setback, and every moment of criticism was not a sign of inadequacy, but an essential part of the process of growth. For so long, I had internalized the belief that mistakes meant I was uneducated or worthless, but over time, I began to see them as opportunities to learn, adapt, and improve. Each failure became a mirror, reflecting areas where I could grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Instead of fearing mistakes or avoiding challenges, I started to confront them head-on, understanding that true progress comes from engagement, risk, and persistence. I developed the habit of analyzing each misstep carefully, extracting lessons from what went wrong, and applying that knowledge to future efforts. This approach transformed the way I approached life's obstacles. No longer were failures humiliating or paralyzing, they were tools for refinement, ways to sharpen my skills and strengthen my resolve. Alongside this, I began to embrace patience and perseverance, recognizing that growth and mastery take time, and that immediate success is rare. By reframing setbacks as part of a larger journey, I cultivated resilience that allowed me to persist, even when progress seemed slow or difficult. I also discovered the importance of self-reflection. Each failure prompted introspection, encouraging me to question assumptions, refine strategies, and identify hidden strengths. Over time, this practice not only improved my outcomes but also strengthened my sense of self, because I realized that my worth was not tied to individual successes or failures, but to the consistent effort I was willing to put in to become better. I noticed a shift in my mindset. Instead of fearing judgment, I became curious, eager to understand, experiment, and grow. Challenges that once seemed daunting became exciting opportunities to prove to myself what I was capable of achieving. This perspective fundamentally altered the trajectory of my life, allowing me to embrace challenges with confidence and approach obstacles with determination. By learning to view failures as stepping stones rather than roadblocks, I built an inner strength that could not be shaken by mockery, criticism, or doubt. Each experience, no matter how difficult, reinforced my understanding that growth, resilience, and achievement are cultivated through perseverance and the willingness to confront and learn from every setback. In this way, I transformed the pain of ridicule into a continuous drive for improvement, using every failure as fuel to forge a stronger, wiser, and unstoppable version of myself. As I progressed further, I came to understand that observing the behavior of the person who had mocked me was as important as focusing on my own growth. The ridicule I had endured revealed more about them than it did about me, their insecurities, their fear of being surpassed, and their need to assert dominance over someone they perceived as weaker. Recognizing this allowed me to detach emotionally from the insults and see them for what they truly were, projections of their limitations rather than accurate reflections of my abilities. I started to study patterns in behavior, learning when criticism was likely to come, how it was intended to provoke, and how I could respond in a way that protected my energy and focus. By observing carefully, I learned to anticipate potential obstacles and to prepare myself mentally and strategically for them. This wasn't about plotting revenge in the conventional sense, it was about understanding the environment I was operating in, assessing risks, and using knowledge to navigate challenges with precision. I also realized that the mockery often came from a place of fear that I might succeed, that I might surpass expectations, or that I might become something that challenged their perception of control. Recognizing this dynamic shifted my perspective. I no longer felt diminished by their words. Instead, I saw them as irrelevant to my path, distractions I could move around or rise above. Observation also taught me patience. I learned that revealing my growth too early could invite further ridicule or attempts to undermine me, so I focused on quietly accumulating achievements while maintaining composure. By carefully monitoring how criticism was delivered and how others reacted, I gained insight into social dynamics, power structures, and the subtle ways influence and judgment operate. This knowledge became a strategic advantage. I could choose my moments to speak, act, and demonstrate my capabilities, ensuring that my success could not be dismissed or trivialized. Observing the behavior of the person who once mocked me also reinforced my sense of self-worth. The more I understood their limitations and motives, the less power their words held over me. I began to see that the real measure of intelligence, strength, and value was in action, persistence, and character, not in fleeting judgments. By learning to watch, analyze, and interpret rather than react impulsively, I cultivated clarity, composure, and strategic insight that would later amplify the impact of my accomplishments and ensure that my eventual revelation of success was undeniable, powerful, and rooted in truth rather than emotion. As my journey unfolded, I realized that achieving true transformation required not just skill and knowledge, but careful planning and deliberate action. I understood that sporadic effort or reactive decision-making would never be enough to overturn years of ridicule and prove my worth. I began to approach my life with the mindset of a strategist, treating every choice, every investment of time and energy as a calculated step toward long-term success. This meant setting clear objectives and mapping out the steps necessary to reach them, while remaining flexible enough to adapt when obstacles arose. I started by identifying the areas where I could make the greatest impact, skills that would elevate my capabilities, opportunities that would showcase my intelligence, and experiences that would build my credibility. I learned to prioritize relentlessly, distinguishing between what was urgent and what was truly important, ensuring that every action brought me closer to the life I wanted to create. Alongside goal setting, I developed a system for measuring progress. I tracked achievements, milestones, and lessons learned, creating a tangible record of growth that reinforced my sense of competence and purpose. This disciplined approach also required patience. I knew that meaningful change would not happen overnight, and that consistency, persistence, and focus were far more valuable than seeking immediate recognition. By thinking strategically, I could anticipate challenges before they arose, prepare contingencies, and avoid being derailed by setbacks or criticism. I also became mindful of how I presented myself to the world, understanding that timing and perception mattered in amplifying the impact of my achievements. This didn't mean seeking approval or validation from those who had mocked me, but rather ensuring that when the moment came to reveal my true capabilities, the evidence was undeniable and compelling. Strategy extended beyond personal development into relationships and networking. I carefully sought mentors, allies, and peers who could provide guidance, support, and insight, recognizing that the right connections could accelerate growth and open doors that might otherwise remain closed. At the same time, I distanced myself from influences that drained energy, encouraged doubt, or perpetuated negativity. By combining deliberate planning, disciplined execution, and careful observation, I created a framework that allowed me to move forward with confidence and purpose. Each step taken strategically brought me closer to the ultimate goal, living a life that reflected my true abilities and value, and demonstrating through methodical and undeniable action that the person who had been mocked as uneducated and worthless was in fact capable, intelligent, and unstoppable. As my journey progressed, I realized that education and self-improvement were not limited to formal institutions or traditional measures of learning. Being labeled uneducated had been one of the most cutting insults I endured, But I soon understood that true knowledge is cultivated through curiosity, experience, and persistent effort. I immersed myself in a variety of subjects, exploring areas that fascinated me and developing skills that aligned with my goals. I sought out books, online resources, and mentors who could challenge my thinking and expand my perspective. Every lesson I absorbed, every concept I mastered, became not just an intellectual victory, but a personal triumph over the years of ridicule and doubt. Learning became an act of empowerment. I began to see that being educated was not about the approval of others or checking boxes on a formal curriculum, but about cultivating the ability to think critically, solve problems, and adapt to new situations. I challenged myself with subjects and projects that seemed difficult or intimidating at first, understanding that growth comes from stepping beyond the familiar and embracing the discomfort of learning something new. Alongside acquiring knowledge, I focused on applying it in practical ways, turning theory into action and insight into tangible results. This combination of learning and doing reinforced my confidence, proving that intelligence and capability are demonstrated through action, not merely claimed or inherited. I also learned to recognize the value of continuous learning. Growth is not static, and the more I explored, the more I realized how much there was yet to discover. Each new skill or piece of knowledge built upon the last, creating momentum and a sense of mastery that others could not dismiss. Beyond intellectual development, this pursuit of education shaped my character. It required discipline, patience, and the willingness to confront failure as a necessary part of the process. Each mistake became a lesson, each challenge a catalyst for deeper understanding. I also discovered the importance of humility. True education is never about proving others wrong, but about seeking truth, understanding, and improvement for oneself. Over time, the accumulation of knowledge, skills, and practical experience transformed not only what I knew, but how I saw myself. The label of uneducated lost all power, replaced by a quiet confidence grounded in the reality of what I had achieved. I realized that self-education was not just about gaining information, but about reclaiming my identity, asserting my value, and creating a foundation of strength that no mockery could undermine. This process allowed me to turn what had once been a source of shame into the ultimate tool for empowerment, independence, and personal triumph. As I moved deeper into my journey of self-discovery and empowerment, I realized that building meaningful connections and seeking guidance from the right people was just as important as personal effort and skill development. For so long, I had been isolated in my struggle, carrying the weight of mockery and judgment alone. But I came to understand that the people we surround ourselves with can either limit our growth or amplify it. I began intentionally seeking out mentors, teachers, and peers who could challenge me, offer constructive feedback, and inspire me to push beyond the limits I had internalized. These individuals became a vital source of knowledge, perspective, and encouragement, guiding me through moments of doubt and helping me navigate complex challenges with clarity and confidence. I learned that guidance is not about being handed success, it is about having someone reflect your potential back to you, helping you see possibilities you might overlook on your own. At the same time, I became mindful of the relationships I maintained. I distanced myself from people who thrived on negativity, judgment, or criticism, recognizing that their influence could drain my energy and undermine my progress. Surrounding myself with those who valued growth, resilience, and integrity created an environment where my ambitions could flourish. This network also provided accountability. When I set goals or committed to projects, having mentors or peers who held me to high standards ensured that I stayed disciplined and persistent. Their belief in my abilities reinforced the confidence I was cultivating within myself, and their guidance helped me navigate challenges strategically rather than impulsively. I also discovered the importance of reciprocal support. Growth is amplified when it is shared, when we offer encouragement, insight, and feedback to others as well. By contributing to the development of those around me, I strengthened relationships and built a foundation of trust and mutual respect that further enhanced my own journey. Over time, the combination of mentorship, strategic networking, and supportive relationships created a powerful ecosystem that accelerated my progress and reinforced my sense of self-worth. I realized that while personal effort, resilience, and knowledge were crucial, the influence of thoughtful, experienced, and encouraging people could transform obstacles into opportunities and doubts into actionable growth. These connections became an integral part of my transformation, allowing me to not only achieve my goals more effectively, but also to demonstrate, through both accomplishment and the support I cultivated, that the person once dismissed as uneducated and worthless had become capable, resourceful, and unstoppable. As my journey continued, I came to realize that breakthroughs, those moments that truly define your path, often arrive quietly after years of preparation, persistence, and unseen effort. The years of ridicule and being labeled uneducated had fueled a determination that I carried with me in every action, but the actual moment of breakthrough was something I had to earn patiently. I focused on consistently improving myself, refining my skills, and accumulating knowledge, knowing that every small step forward was contributing to a larger, inevitable result. I understood that success is rarely sudden or accidental. It is the product of deliberate practice, learning from failures, and seizing opportunities that others might overlook. The first breakthrough I experienced was subtle but profound. It came in the form of recognition for work I had done quietly, a success that validated my abilities without fanfare or external approval. I realized that the years of preparation had not been wasted. They had equipped me with the confidence, competence, and resilience to step into spaces that had once seemed unattainable. These moments of breakthrough were not just about external achievement. They were deeply personal victories, proving to myself that I could rise above the ridicule and the expectations others had imposed. Each breakthrough reinforced my understanding that my worth was determined not by insults or judgment, but by the results of my own effort and the integrity with which I pursued my goals. I also noticed that breakthroughs tend to compound. One success opens doors to new opportunities, creating momentum that propels you further along your path. I began to approach challenges with a strategic mindset, identifying ways to leverage small wins into larger accomplishments. This perspective transformed the way I viewed obstacles. Setbacks became temporary, solvable, and even necessary steps on the road to significant achievement. Another important aspect of breakthroughs was timing. I learned to wait for the right moment to reveal my capabilities, understanding that preparation without patience could diminish the impact of success. When the breakthrough arrived, it was undeniable and powerful precisely because it was the result of years of consistent effort, strategic planning, and personal growth. Experiencing these moments strengthened my belief in the process and in myself, demonstrating that the person once mocked and dismissed as uneducated and worthless had cultivated the skills, knowledge, and confidence necessary to achieve remarkable success. Breakthroughs became evidence that perseverance, focus, and deliberate action can transform ridicule into triumph and self-doubt into unstoppable capability. As I continued on my path, I realized that quietly accumulating achievements was one of the most powerful forms of revenge, not in a vengeful sense, but as a way to prove my worth through undeniable results. For years, I had been mocked, belittled, and dismissed, and the temptation to respond impulsively with anger or confrontation was strong. But I understood that immediate reactions could be fleeting and ineffective. True impact comes from consistent, deliberate action that builds a record of accomplishment over time. I focused on creating tangible results in every area of my life, whether through education, skill building, professional projects, or personal growth. Each achievement, no matter how small, was a quiet declaration that I was capable, intelligent, and determined. I learned to measure success not by the approval of others, but by the progress I was making and the obstacles I was overcoming. This accumulation of achievements became a compounding force. Skills I developed in one area enhanced my performance in another. Lessons learned from failures informed future decisions. Confidence built from small victories prepared me to take on larger challenges. Over time, the collection of accomplishments created a foundation so strong that the judgments and insults that had once defined me lost all relevance. I also discovered the strategic power of timing. By quietly building my capabilities and achievements without broadcasting them, I ensured that when the moment came to reveal my growth, the impact would be undeniable. The element of surprise amplified the significance of each success, making it impossible for critics to dismiss or belittle my accomplishments. This approach required patience, discipline, and the ability to resist the urge for immediate recognition. I had to trust the process and remain committed to long-term goals, understanding that lasting proof of capability is far more powerful than temporary reactions or arguments. Additionally, quietly accumulating achievements allowed me to maintain focus and avoid distractions caused by negativity or skepticism. By directing energy into productive work, rather than reacting emotionally, I steadily moved toward my vision of success. Over time, this accumulation became more than just evidence of skill or intelligence, it became a reflection of character, resilience, and unwavering commitment. Each completed project, learned skill, and milestone reached served as a testament that the person once mocked as uneducated and worthless had quietly transformed into someone capable, confident, and unstoppable. This approach created a momentum that was impossible to ignore and set the stage for the ultimate revelation of my true potential. As I progressed, I realized that preparing for the moment of confrontation, the moment when I would finally reveal my true capabilities, was as crucial as all the hard work I had invested. This preparation wasn't about seeking revenge in a petty sense, but about ensuring that the truth of my abilities could no longer be denied or diminished. Years of mockery had left deep emotional scars, and I understood that the impact of finally standing tall would be greater if I approached it with clarity, confidence, and undeniable evidence. I spent time reflecting on what I had achieved, organizing my accomplishments in a way that told a story of growth, resilience, and transformation. Every project completed, skill mastered, and milestone reached became a piece of this narrative, a way to illustrate that the labels once applied to me were false. Preparing also meant cultivating emotional readiness. I needed to face the person who had belittled me without letting residual anger or hurt control my words or actions. I practiced composure, learning to speak with calm authority and confidence, allowing my achievements to speak for themselves. This process required patience. I had to wait until the timing was right, until my work and growth were undeniable, so that my revelation could be both impactful and respectful. Alongside emotional readiness, I also prepared strategically, anticipating possible reactions and questions. I knew that those who had once mocked me might attempt to minimize my achievements or dismiss them as luck or circumstance, so I focused on presenting evidence that was concrete, measurable, and impossible to contest. I reflected on how best to communicate my journey, balancing humility with clarity, allowing my story to highlight the persistence, intelligence, and dedication that had fueled my transformation. Preparation also extended to personal presentation. I ensured that my demeanor, appearance, and confidence aligned with the story I was about to reveal. Every detail mattered, from body language to tone of voice, as these subtle cues reinforced the credibility and strength of my message. By meticulously preparing, I transformed what could have been an emotionally charged confrontation into a moment of undeniable truth, a demonstration of resilience and capability that could not be ignored or belittled. This readiness ensured that when the time came to show who I really was, the impact would be profound, leaving no doubt that the person once dismissed as uneducated and worthless had grown into someone accomplished, confident, and unstoppable. Every element of preparation amplified the power of that moment, turning years of ridicule into a powerful affirmation of personal triumph and undeniable self-worth. As I reached the stage where I could finally confront the truth of who I had become, I realized that the emotional intensity of standing tall and speaking up was a force I had to prepare for carefully. For years, I had carried the weight of mockery, being labeled uneducated and worthless, and that pain had shaped my life in countless ways. The desire to respond, to make someone see the truth of my transformation, burned quietly inside me, but I knew that raw emotion alone could not deliver the impact I sought. I had to harness it, channel it into clarity, confidence, and precision, so that when the moment arrived, my words and presence would carry undeniable weight. This stage was about more than proving others wrong. It was about asserting my own identity, reclaiming my self-worth, and demonstrating the years of effort, perseverance, and personal growth that had gone into building the person I had become. I spent time reflecting on my journey, understanding the challenges I had faced, the failures I had endured, and the countless hours of preparation, learning, and hard work. Recognizing this allowed me to step forward with both humility and authority, knowing that my value was inherent and reinforced by tangible achievements rather than dependent on anyone else's approval. As the moment approached, I became acutely aware of the power of presence, how tone of voice, posture, and composure could amplify the truth of my message. I practiced speaking deliberately, ensuring that every word conveyed confidence and self-assurance. I also prepared mentally for possible reactions, knowing that disbelief, denial, or even attempts to belittle my accomplishments could surface. By anticipating these responses, I could maintain control of the interaction, letting my achievements and demeanor speak louder than any argument or dismissal. The emotional intensity of the moment was balanced by a deep sense of purpose. This was not about humiliation or revenge in the cruel sense, but about revealing the reality of my capabilities, letting truth and perseverance shine where ridicule had once ruled. When I finally spoke, the energy I had cultivated, the combination of confidence, preparation, and self-belief, created a powerful impact that could not be ignored. It was a declaration that every insult, every moment of doubt, and every attempt to diminish me had only fueled the creation of a person strong, capable, and unstoppable. That intensity, carefully channeled, ensured that my revelation was both transformative and unforgettable, a moment where the narrative imposed on me for years was decisively overturned. When the moment finally came to demonstrate the reality of who I had become, I realized that the shock and disbelief on the face of the person who had mocked me was more than a fleeting reaction. It was the culmination of years of preparation, perseverance, and personal transformation. For so long, I had been labeled uneducated, worthless, and incapable, and those words had shaped not only my childhood but also my self-perception. Yet through years of deliberate effort, skill-building, learning, and strategic growth, I had quietly constructed a version of myself that was undeniable, in competence, confidence, and character. The shock I witnessed was not just about the achievements themselves, but about the fact that they challenged a narrative that had been deeply ingrained for years. I had become a living contradiction to every insult, a proof that labels imposed by others could never define my true potential. Observing the disbelief reinforced the power of silent effort, the value of persistence, and the impact of quietly accumulating success without seeking immediate recognition. The effect was magnified by the contrast between the person I had been, timid, uncertain, and ridiculed, and the person I had become, confident, skilled, and unshakably self-assured. I recognized in that moment that the real triumph was not simply in eliciting surprise, but in demonstrating integrity, resilience, and personal growth. The shock was evidence that my efforts had achieved what words alone could never convey, undeniable proof of capability and transformation. I also realized that this moment allowed for a deeper understanding on both sides. While the disbelief of the one who mocked me might have been uncomfortable for them, it also highlighted the consequences of underestimating and dismissing someone's potential. It was a quiet but profound vindication, not born from anger, but from the truth of my accomplishments. Each skill I had mastered, each milestone I had reached, and every challenge I had overcome culminated in a visible, undeniable reality. I felt a sense of empowerment and liberation, understanding that the labels of the past had lost their grip entirely. The shock of recognition was a symbolic acknowledgement of the journey I had undertaken, of the resilience and determination that had turned ridicule into fuel for success. In witnessing disbelief, I could see the invisible thread connecting years of quiet effort, personal growth, and unwavering focus to a moment that proved, beyond question, that the person once dismissed as uneducated and worthless had become capable, accomplished, and unstoppable. As I reflected on the moment of revelation, I realized that the most powerful aspect of proving my worth was not just the shock or surprise it elicited, but the undeniable truth it represented. Years of being labeled uneducated and worthless had instilled doubt and fear, but they had also ignited a determination to rise above the ridicule and claim my own identity. By the time I was ready to demonstrate who I truly was, I had accumulated not only knowledge and skills, but also the confidence and composure to present myself in a way that left no room for dismissal. This moment was the culmination of countless hours of effort, quiet persistence, and deliberate personal development. Each achievement, each challenge overcome, and each lesson learned contributed to a narrative that could no longer be ignored or minimized. I recognized that the real power lay in the combination of preparation and authenticity. It was not about exaggeration, boasting, or revenge for the sake of humiliation. It was about showing, through tangible results and undeniable presence, that the person who had been mocked had become capable, competent, and confident. I carefully considered how to present my growth and achievements, understanding that timing, clarity, and composure would amplify the impact of my efforts. By remaining calm and deliberate, I allowed the accomplishments themselves to speak louder than any argument or explanation ever could. Observing the reaction, the disbelief, the shock, the sudden acknowledgement, was a testament to the years of invisible work that had gone into building my capabilities. It became clear that the most profound form of vindication is not in retaliation but in transformation, in quietly becoming someone whose abilities and character are undeniable. This process also reinforced the importance of self-belief. No amount of mockery or judgment could overshadow the reality of what I had built and accomplished. Each step I had taken, each skill acquired, and each obstacle overcome had strengthened my sense of identity and self-worth. The moment of revelation was more than a confrontation, it was a celebration of perseverance, resilience, and intentional growth. It highlighted the contrast between the narrative imposed upon me and the reality I had created through dedication and focus. Ultimately, the most powerful outcome was internal. I had proven to myself more than anyone else that my value and capability were inherent, cultivated, and undeniable. The disbelief I witnessed served as a mirror, reflecting not just my transformation, but the truth that consistent effort, strategic action, and unwavering self-belief can completely overturn even the harshest judgments and labels. As I moved past the moment of revelation, I realized that the most profound part of my journey was not the shock I caused or the external validation I might have received, but the internal sense of empowerment and liberation that came from reclaiming my life and identity. For years, being labeled as uneducated and worthless had shaped my thoughts, my behavior, and even the way I saw potential opportunities. I carried an invisible weight of doubt and fear, but through persistent effort, disciplined growth, and deliberate self-improvement, I gradually dismantled those internal barriers. I understood that the ultimate measure of transformation is not in the reactions of others, but in the confidence and self-respect that comes from knowing you have invested every ounce of effort into becoming your best self. I spent considerable time reflecting on my progress, recognizing the small victories that had accumulated over the years, each skill acquired, each challenge overcome, each lesson learned. These were the building blocks of resilience, and together they created a foundation of self-assuredness that could not be shaken by mockery, judgment, or doubt. I realized that true empowerment comes from consistency and discipline, the relentless pursuit of growth even when recognition is absent or when obstacles seem insurmountable. This internal empowerment also changed the way I interacted with the world. I no longer measured my worth by the opinions of others, nor did I allow criticism to derail my focus. Instead, I approached challenges with clarity, strategy, and confidence, knowing that my actions and results carried far more weight than any words. I also began to see the ripple effect of this empowerment in the way I inspired others. By modeling persistence, self-respect, and dedication, I could demonstrate that labels imposed by others are irrelevant when someone is committed to personal growth. Each day of consistent effort reinforced the understanding that self-worth is earned and claimed through action, not dictated by external judgment. The liberation I experienced was profound because it removed the psychological chains that had bound me for years. I realized that I had transformed from a person constrained by ridicule into someone unstoppable, whose capabilities, intelligence, and value were fully under my control. This internal power ensured that no one could diminish me again, and it provided the confidence to navigate life with purpose, resilience, and unwavering self-belief. Ultimately, reclaiming my identity became the most powerful form of revenge, not over anyone else, but over the limitations and doubt I had once internalized. As my journey approached its culmination, I realized that the most profound transformation was not just in what I had achieved externally, but in the complete shift in how I viewed myself and my place in the world. For years, being mocked as uneducated and worthless had created a lens through which I measured every action, every opportunity, and every interaction. It had planted seeds of doubt and insecurity that influenced my decisions and limited my ambitions. But over time, through relentless self-improvement, disciplined learning, and persistent effort, I began to dismantle the framework of shame and limitation that had been imposed on me. I learned that true transformation is internal first. The confidence, resilience, and self-belief I developed became the foundation upon which all external successes were built. Each skill I acquired, each challenge I overcame, and each milestone I reached reinforced the understanding that my worth was inherent and self-determined, not defined by anyone else's words. This internal transformation also changed the way I approached opportunities. I no longer hesitated out of fear of failure or judgment. Instead, I approached each challenge with strategic thinking, calculated risk-taking, and the knowledge that preparation and persistence would carry me through. I recognized that the external world could no longer define me, because I had taken full ownership of my growth, choices, and identity. Alongside this internal shift, I began to understand the subtle dynamics of influence and perception. I had learned to observe the behavior and motives of others, particularly those who had previously ridiculed me, and to respond with calm confidence rather than impulsive emotion. This allowed me to navigate interactions with clarity, ensuring that my actions and achievements spoke louder than any words of judgment. The culmination of this awareness, effort, and self-mastery resulted in a sense of liberation I had never experienced before. I was no longer constrained by the labels that had once caused me pain. Instead, I was empowered by the knowledge that my abilities, intelligence, and determination were undeniable and fully under my control. This internal victory was profound because it ensured that no external opinion could diminish my confidence or derail my purpose. I had transformed from someone weighed down by ridicule into someone unstoppable, whose identity and value were defined entirely by personal effort, resilience, and unwavering self-belief. In this way, the ultimate triumph was not in shocking others, but in fully reclaiming my life, asserting my worth, and proving to myself that the person once dismissed as uneducated and worthless had become a figure of undeniable capability, strength, and dignity. As I reached the final stages of my journey, I realized that the ultimate victory lay in the quiet, undeniable proof of who I had become and the life I had created for myself. For years, I had carried the burden of being mocked as uneducated and worthless, and those words had shaped my self-perception and limited my ambitions. Yet through relentless effort, disciplined growth, and unwavering persistence, I had slowly built a foundation of knowledge, skill, and self-confidence that no ridicule could shake. The true triumph was not in seeking revenge through confrontation or humiliation, but in living a life that reflected my abilities, values, and strength, something impossible to dispute or belittle. I focused on consolidating everything I had learned and achieved, ensuring that my growth was comprehensive and undeniable. Each skill mastered, each challenge overcome, and every milestone reached became a testament to the dedication and resilience I had cultivated over the years. I realized that by quietly accumulating evidence of my competence and character, I had created a life that could not be ignored, minimized, or dismissed. This final phase also emphasized the importance of self-belief and internal validation. I no longer needed the approval or recognition of those who had once mocked me, because I had become fully aware of my own value. My confidence was grounded not in external praise, but in the tangible proof of my growth and the relentless effort I had invested in myself. I also understood that patience and timing were essential. The impact of revealing my transformation, whether through achievements, behavior, or presence, was amplified because it came after years of preparation and personal development. By allowing my success to emerge organically and at the right moment, I ensured that it carried weight, credibility, and undeniable authority. The culmination of all this work created a sense of liberation that was profound. I was no longer defined by the insults, doubts, or limitations imposed by others. Instead, I had claimed ownership of my identity, capabilities, and future. I had transformed from someone constrained by ridicule into someone unstoppable, whose competence, resilience, and integrity were evident to all who observed. Ultimately, the final triumph was the realization that the person once dismissed as uneducated and worthless had quietly become someone accomplished, respected, and unshakably confident, proving that sustained effort, strategic action, and unwavering self-belief can overcome even the harshest judgment and leave an undeniable legacy of personal victory. As I reflected on the culmination of my journey, I realized that the most profound lesson was the complete reclamation of my identity and self-worth. For years, being labeled uneducated and worthless had left deep emotional scars, shaping the way I viewed myself and my potential. Every insult, every dismissal, had a lingering impact, creating doubt and fear that threatened to define my trajectory. Yet through relentless effort, disciplined learning, and unwavering persistence, I had slowly transformed, building not only skills and knowledge, but also a foundation of resilience, confidence, and self-respect that no external judgment could undermine. This final stage was about fully embracing the person I had become, acknowledging the growth I had achieved, and living in a way that reflected my true capabilities. I understood that my worth was not dependent on recognition, approval, or validation from those who had mocked me. It was something I had cultivated through action, perseverance, and intentional effort. Over time, I had accumulated undeniable proof of my abilities: projects completed, skills mastered, obstacles overcome, and personal milestones reached. Each of these accomplishments served as a concrete reminder that the narrative imposed on me for years was false, and that my potential and value were entirely my own to define. This stage also highlighted the power of patience, strategy, and deliberate action. I had learned that true transformation is not instantaneous. It comes from consistent effort, careful planning, and the willingness to endure challenges without being derailed by negativity. By quietly building my abilities and achievements over time, I ensured that when the moment came to reveal my true self, the impact was profound, undeniable, and grounded in evidence rather than emotion. I also recognized the importance of internal validation. No longer did I allow insults, mockery, or doubt to shape my perception of myself. My confidence was rooted in my accomplishments and the integrity with which I had pursued them. Finally, this stage represented liberation. I was no longer constrained by the labels and judgments of the past. I had become someone capable, confident, and unstoppable. The person who had once been dismissed as uneducated and worthless was now someone whose skills, resilience, and determination were evident to all, and whose self-worth was unshakable. This ultimate transformation was the greatest form of triumph, demonstrating that sustained effort, focus, and unwavering belief in oneself can completely overturn years of doubt and ridicule, leaving a life defined not by others' judgments, but by undeniable personal achievement and empowerment. In conclusion, this journey, from being mocked as uneducated and worthless to becoming someone capable, confident, and unstoppable, has been a testament to the power of perseverance, self-belief, and deliberate action. Every insult, every doubt, and every setback became fuel for growth, each challenge a stepping stone toward reclaiming my identity and proving to myself that my worth was never defined by the opinions of others. Through patience, resilience, strategic effort, and continuous learning, I transformed adversity into strength, ridicule into motivation, and silence into undeniable achievement. This story is not just about triumph over external judgment, but about the unwavering commitment to personal growth and the quiet victories that eventually speak louder than any words ever could. To everyone listening, remember that no obstacle, criticism, or doubt can limit your potential unless you allow it. Trust in your abilities, persist through hardship, and focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Your journey may be long and challenging, but every step forward brings you closer to the life you are capable of creating. Good luck to each of you as you pursue your dreams, face your challenges, and transform your struggles into victories. Thank you for taking the time to listen, for believing in the power of resilience, and for trusting that your true potential can shine, no matter what anyone else says. Keep pushing, keep growing, and never let anyone else define who you are.